Hello, I'm Reece. I'm a visual artist and designer, primarily focused in contemporary tattooing from Newcastle, northeast of England. I've got a space that I've built and operate in the John Marley Centre in the West End of Newcastle, which is awesome. It's definitely one of a kind in terms of the northeast and places for artists to work and people to create spaces like this. The fluidity and openness that the people at Breeze Creatives have with it is mad. They just let you do everything and anything that you want. It's awesome. I've been working in this field of tattooing for about 3 years now. I'm self-taught. I didn't do a formal apprenticeship. I self-taught myself in the first lockdown. And I think a lot of my work these days, as I understand it, is probably defined best as if you take the mundane, everyday, boring shit that you witnessed and pick up on, and then imagine that in like 100 years' time on acid, I'll try and kind of define what the middle would look like in that sense, is the way that I like to pick it up. But in terms of how I work, it's very much abstract nature visually, and a lot of kind of writing as well. So the space that we built and made here in the John Marley Centre, it's a private space. Go on, Sasha. It's a private space. It's not open to the public, but it's appointment only. But we wanted to make a space that was kind of bright and friendly and inclusive and judgment-free and all that kind of thing. But also more just like a hideaway in the corner of this massive building full of crazy stuff where you can kind of just chill, you know what I mean? A bit of like a living room vibe. Hence why there's like a projector and all that kind of stuff in here. I wanted it to feel like somewhere that you can relax in as well as feel like you're in an appointment in, you know what I mean? Because that's important to me when I make my work as well, so it's important to for us to provide that experience, do you know what I mean? It's also kind of, I guess, like, it's definitely not focused on at all, but it's run by queer people, me and my partner, and it's definitely a place where when people come in from that community, we want to kind of like let them walk away feeling a little bit celebrated, do you know what I mean? So there's definitely, we do put an emphasis on the fact that is a thing here. You'll probably see rainbows on a lot of the promotional stuff, you know what I mean? So it would be silly for me not to mention that. But in general, it's just a very, very relaxed place for very, very, very relaxed and nice people to come through and have a nice time creatively, really. So what I think is really important and useful about Breeze is the kind of way that they champion kind of lifting people up who don't come into the arts via like the usual means, and that's like really, really particular when it comes to tattooing because it's such a particular grey area of the industry, and there is nothing anywhere telling anybody how to do it legitimately. There aren't any hard and fast rules. There's barely any government guidelines. You know what I mean? Anyone can get a license. It's pretty crazy in that field. So, and the way that I came up being self-taught without a formal apprenticeship or anything was kind of like, it's like the end of the road is in sight when you start it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like to have somebody at a professional level own an art centre and operate an art centre where you're with other people that are like fully fledged in the things that they do, but you're treading the same level in terms of like you're not going to get judged because you've done this all by yourself. I think that's really important because other places that I've been in the past and other places that I hear about people being don't allow that, you know what I mean? And there is a lot of kind of like, especially with tattooing, kind of like do this, do that, do this, do that. And there is none of that here, which is amazing. And that's particular for how I came up because that's how I taught myself in the lockdown, just vetoed both my legs and just made loads of mistakes until it was working for us, do you know what I mean? And that's kind of like, I think that's the spirit of art really, isn't it? And tattooing is, at the end of the day, it's an artistic practice. It like sits in like this kind of like beauty, cosmetic, health area societally, but it's like, it's art, isn't it? Like, so yeah, I think doing what you want to do from the start and doing it by yourself is big, and big up Breeze for that. My style, it's hard when I speak about my style, I'm not necessarily speaking about my style of tattoos, I'm speaking about my style of art in general. I generally then just find a way to make that into a tattoo. But the way that I work really visually is it's definitely abstract, I suppose, in that nature of like, it's nothing that you could see in real life. And I think where I really get the fulfillment is when I find someone else that kind of can also visualize what I'm visualizing when I describe where the idea came from. It's hard to put into words a lot of the time, but that's what I'm kind of searching for, you know what I mean? That kind of point of abstraction where two people meet anyway, do you know what I mean? And it's a really nice feeling. That's kind of what I push towards with my work. There's a lot of kind of unnatural shapes when it comes to forms and particularly heads and faces and expressions and kind of like offsetting what you're kind of in this world, an idea of an angel, for example. Take that and then reimagine that. What if it wasn't angelic and perfect? What if it was dragged through mud and kicked about for a bit first, you know what I mean? And then try and reimagine that and what that could look like, and build this world and then put that in an environment and make something, you know what I mean? A lot of comic books and stuff like that were my inspiration when I started. So I like to put like people in places, you know what I mean, and make a bit of a story in my head. Whether I ever explain that or not, I don't know, but it seems to resonate with people visually. So in terms of contacting us or coming to work with us collaboratively or get a tattoo or whatever, I'm contactable on Instagram, just DMs on Instagram. I don't really mess with emails and stuff just yet. It's a bit too official. So yeah, you can DM me on Instagram at any time. It's at sleepwell with 6 underscores in between sleep and well. If there's less than that, it's a fake account. Yeah, and that's how you can contact me.